let's get into it. So I want to start off by sharing this image here. Tell us what is going on and what was it like to take this photo?
And it was an absolute gong show.
Yeah, it was. So I took this photo because everything was all out of order. Like they told us this was going to be at a certain time. It was it was either too early or too late. I wasn't expecting it.
No one was expecting
Sabrina
it.
was out of position. I was there, and the only reason I captured it was because they were doing the first kiss. So that's the only part of the day where I'm in like full auto, like I just blast, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was shooting like 10 frames a second or something.
I was behind the couple actually shooting the other way.
And so it
was the worst.
We've been warned that like this was going to happen. They were going to have these like colored smoke things, and we're like, oh, that's cool.
But they were going to tell us.
Yeah, but they were supposed to tell us when it was going to happen. And what they didn't tell us was that this like scene in this picture lasted like about 1.5 seconds.
Wow.
It was like, and it wasn't like, like those like smoke things, those like that you can hold and they like
last
blow
forever.
smoke out. This was like an explosion. It was literally like fireworks.
Wow.
And it was so loud. It scared me so bad.
And everyone in the audience.
That I stopped shooting at this frame because I thought something had exploded. Well, it had, but it was like, honestly, it was such a mess. It was a miracle.
Oh my gosh.
And also the thing that people don't realize is that I actually edited out videographers all over this shot.
Yeah, because there was like 3 videographers for this wedding and they were all over the place.
Yeah, so this like flower bush on the bottom right,
it's
not real at all. I edited that in.
No way.
Yeah,
well done.
Videographers were like, everyone was scrambling to get the shot because and the planners were like, what is happening? And even the couple was like, what, we're supposed to kiss now?
Yeah.
But it worked out.
They did at the right time. Yeah, most people looked like it looked like it was planned because they're clapping at the right time. They're all looking at it, and one of the bridesmaids is just like, what looks like she's like, what's going on? But it's a beautiful frame, and it was definitely one of the ones that obviously stuck out to me the most. But also, there's a castle in the background, so where is this?
It's at
Castel de Sant Marçal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's outside of Barcelona.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which explains a lot about the disorganization, because it was they're from Taiwan.
Yeah.
Or from mainland China. I can't remember. They're not Spanish, but they were having their wedding in Spain. And Spanish weddings can be a little bit more disorganized
or
spontaneous, we'll say.
But a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, great.
But it's a really beautiful venue. We've photographed there a couple times actually. And it's kind of got that like iconic like
castle,
watchtower, guard tower, castle.
Yeah.
And this area is really beautiful. There's like a big fountain behind it. It's a really, really cool spot to have a wedding.
Well, it looks amazing. And I wanted to kick off with just, I picked about 5 of your images to just mix things up and learn more about, kind of behind the scenes. Because sometimes you see an epic shot like this and you're like, oh my gosh, like everything came together perfectly. But then when you actually learn the story, it's completely different. And then you're counting your blessings that you captured it and you were in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So well done.
You got an award for it.
Yeah.
So
I think
it worked out.
Yeah.
Good job, Dallas.
Well done, Dallas. Yeah, awesome. So it's not going to the next image. So I'm just bear with me for a second, but I have like a few more images here as well that I wanted to briefly touch upon. And while I'm pulling this up, where are you based right now? Like where are you zooming in from?
Well, right now we're out in Surrey, so it's just outside of Vancouver in Canada, and we're just house sitting for friends of ours, and we're just in a bit of transition. We're going to be heading back to Europe in about a month, and hopefully,
like where we're based. We honestly don't really have a home base.
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
kind of like in transition.
Floating.
So right now it's like we've basically split our time between Canada and Europe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that sums it up
pretty
easily.
Much.
Great. Okay, so this image here, where was it taken, and what's happening?
It was in Maspalomas in Canary Islands, Gran Canaria. We were with Don Bringas actually, and we were doing a shoot together.
Yeah, this was when we first, like literally when we first moved to Spain. We had a wedding in Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands, and so we went out there early, and
we hung out with Don.
And we did a couple like fun photo shoots with him. And this photo was Sabrina. This was all her.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it would be a blast just to get them to like.
And this was another. You won an award for this one.
Yeah, I just thought it would be cool to see them jump in the air. I don't know. It's like you have a bit more flexibility. Like this was.
They were a really cool couple, and they were down for like anything.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it was just an idea that we threw out there. They were just having so much fun, and this was the shot.
I love
and you had the idea. Like I was kind of like just overwhelmed by like the scenery and new things, and it was really cool. And Sabrina really wanted to try something unique and get something different.
Yeah.
And so she gave them this idea, like, and she told them just like run down the sand dune and jump as high as you can.
Wow.
I always try to make like a goal. I don't always do it. I think maybe lately I haven't been as good, but typically it's like I'll get everything that needs to be taken, like get all the awesome shots, and then I'll try to do one thing that I've never done before.
Love that.
So
you're really good at that, to
like push myself out of the comfort zone. So this was something I've never asked someone to do. So just went for it.
Worked out great. This one, this is definitely one of my favorite images, and it's so unique. I love the detail in it, and the shadows and everything that's going on in the background. But the way their body shapes are so unique. It's not something that you would see, especially hers and her hair, and it's incredible. And you can feel the movement in it, which is what really, and the excitement. Like, you can even see that it's, they're obviously smaller in the image, but you can feel their kind of joy in these shots. And I think that's like really special. So well done, guys. All right, cool. Sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead, Sachin.
I'm just loading up the next image. I need to do this a bit manually, apparently. So, but
technical difficulties.
Yeah, it happens. Okay, so this I picked because it's the title of the image when you sent it to me was Dallas' favorite photo he took, which I thought was a great name for an image. So Dallas, tell us about this image and why it's a fave.
Part of the reasons why it's like one of my favorites is because this was a true like collaboration with Sabrina. So through the years of us working together, we found like we've kind of become really good at working together in like sort of this symbiotic relationship. And she had the idea for this photo. Well, we both did. We kind of had a general idea, but she took the couple and they were another really cool couple who were, kind of down for anything. And they were sort of wanted to do anything that we thought would be cool. So Sabrina got them sort of set up and sort of gave them a bit of direction and got them into position. And then I kind of had a vision. Like once I saw her set up, I had an idea of how I wanted it to look. And so I ended up taking the photo but really like it's her photo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really love that because it was something that we did together. Like I wouldn't have gotten this photo on my own. And Sabrina would have gotten something similar, but her photo would have been different, right? So I really love that about it.
And I was happy too, because I took my photo and I was like, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. And then I looked at Dallas and I was like, yes, nailed it.
That's it. Yeah,
I got the photo that she wanted to get.
Yeah. That's great. That's the beauty as well of like working with another. And some of my favorite images when I shoot weddings is actually when I'm associate shooting, like second shooting with another photographer. So you mentioned being with Don Bringas. He was a guest on this a few weeks ago, and I would love to meet him in
he's a cool guy
in real life. He's pretty fun. He was doing Jaeger. I think he was drinking Jaeger. It wasn't coffee creatives that day. It was yeah, it
That
was
sounds like Don.
that's
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah, he's high energy.
yeah, definitely. And just such a fun human. And but yeah, when you're working with others, you see things and you can be in certain positions, and you don't have that. Sometimes you have a concept in your mind and you want to create it, and almost it can sometimes make you blind to what else is happening as well, right? So kind of when shooting with someone else, they kind of have all of that in their head, and I love coming in and just kind of seeing what is there, and shooting kind of what I see, and there's no pressure as well. So you kind of have that opportunity to really express yourself and not worry too much about the end product as well. So I love that you both gelled together on this shot and created something that has like your both of you in the image, which is beautiful. So nice one.
This was in, where was it?
This was in BC.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Green Ears Park.
Golden Ears. Golden Ears Park,
I think it's just right over here.
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
And that was again, it was like kind of Sabrina's thing about like trying something creative, or just having an idea and wanting to do something different. That was like the last photo we took. That was the last setup. It was the end. It was like, you could see it was getting dark, the sun was down, they were freezing, we were freezing, and we're like, let's just try this one thing, like
wow.
And I just told them, I was like, hey, last shot, just like most passionate kiss,
just go for it.
And typically it's like, we don't like to overpose, we want to like bring out the couple's feeling, and that was just like probably the most direction we gave, and it was just like pushing ourselves, and that's what it is.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just wanted to pull this back up because what I love about it is also their hands. It can be quite tricky to pose hands, but with your direction and the way you set this up, it all fits perfectly and nothing looks staged or forced. And there's that beautiful tension there between the couple as well, and you can kind of feel the intimacy, in this image. And obviously, the light to me is beautiful, but you're saying, it was getting darker, so there were challenges there as well. And it's kind of mystical almost, with it looks like it's foggy actually.
It is.
It
was.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's that like balance of like giving the right amount of direction. At least for us, it's like we don't want to overtake it, because we want to bring out the couple's personality, and then it keeps it natural. So it's more like we just push them in the right direction and let them do their thing. And then you get that real emotion.
100%. That's amazing. Okay, cool. So one more, and this image is beautiful. God, cracked up when I saw it.
This is Sabrina. Sabrina took this one.
This is like 2020 mood.
But it was last year?
It was last year.
Yeah.
We were photographing in Sitges in Spain. It's this like little cute village outside of Barcelona.
Yeah.
And it was the best because it was during speeches.
And the speeches were long. They were an Irish couple, and so there was a lot of speeches, and everybody wanted to say something, and it was really nice.
And this is their little niece, but
but she was just
the
like
poor little flower girl.
Yeah.
She was just done, and I saw it at the right of my eye, and I was just like dying inside. I thought it was hilarious, but I just took the photo, tried not to like get too swept up into it, because I just thought it was so funny. And as soon as I took it, I knew, I was like, this photo is going to be amazing. And the couple loved it, and this one won an award as well.
Oh, great.
But we love getting photos like this, but that's something that's like I think is really good about us working together, is because I never saw this. Like, I was photographing speeches and I was looking at other people. I think I was in the other side of this area. And Sabrina caught this like hilarious, magical little moment of this kid at a wedding, right? But we really, really love images like this. And part of it is because like this was probably one of the images that the couple liked the most, right? Because it's such a real moment,
It was
Yeah.
so cute. It was like their little niece.
I think everyone who's ever been to a wedding and listened to speeches can relate to this image.
Yeah.
It's
We
like,
actually
you know that feeling where you're just like, oh mate, like, come on. And just like the eyes as well. Obviously the body shape and just how she's like slumped over just perfectly, but just the eyes have every single emotion around just let's get this party started and move on.
Yeah,
you know?
let's get on to the cake cutting.
Yeah, totally.
I think it was just after that when we were in Austria, and then we got a very similar image, but it was during the ceremony.
I haven't even shared it. It's actually
it was the bride and groom's son, and he's basically doing the exact same thing, but behind them during the ceremony, like as they're saying their vows. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was a really long ceremony.
We'll have to show you later or post it online.
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely share that, and I'm happy to reshare it as well. And awesome. So for anyone who doesn't know you, you know, that was a great introduction into kind of the images that you shoot and a bit about who you are as a couple and your styles. And how did you both become photographers? Like, Dallas, was there something in kind of your like childhood that drew you to photography and ultimately landed you into weddings? And then I'd love to hear from Sabrina as well.
Yeah, I started taking pictures when I was like about 10 years old. My mom has, and I actually still have, it's a Pentax ME Super and old 35 millimeter film camera. And I was obsessed with it. Ever since I was young, I was always really obsessed with mechanical things because I just was like a typical young boy, like, oh, this weird machine, how does it work? And of course, but I had a tendency to break things. So my mom never let me touch it. But when I was about 10 years old, we went on this like sort of road trip as a family. And she finally let me use this camera. And she kind of told me the basics, like how the light meter worked in it. And she was like, when the light turns green, like that's when you take a good photo. And so I was like, okay, so I did that. And for years and years and years, I just took photos and I didn't know anything about photography, even up to the point where I was like, I think at about 21, 22, I still would take photos and I didn't know what aperture was, what shutter speed was, even like what films, I didn't understand any of that, but I just took photos. And then I bought a digital camera and just decided I wanted to be a photographer because it was something that always fascinated me. And, you know, with YouTube and with digital, photography became really easy to learn because I could just practice, right? And see immediate results. So then after a couple of years of taking photos, I was living on Vancouver Island. Then I moved to Vancouver, and I was always kind of like looking for some type of way to get into photography. And I saw on Craigslist one time a guy advertising wanting photographers for his music blog. It's a blog that's still around. That's called Seen in the Dark. And so I just applied. I was like, I've never photographed concerts before, but here are some of my pictures. You know, I'd love to be considered. And he liked my work. And so he took me on and I started photographing live shows, which was kind of crazy. Like I didn't know what I was doing, but I just went for it. And after a couple of years of doing that, in the meantime, Sabrina and I got married, and she kind of realized that I was like really obsessed with photography and was like, either you have to like calm this down or like do it professionally, right? So like hit the brakes or hit the gas, right?
Yeah.
And so
I made you a website.
She made me a website. From there, we started photographing weddings. And after about 6 months after she made the website, we had booked enough weddings that I didn't have time to do my regular job. I was like house painting. Wow. But so we kind of just fell into it, literally, like it happened really quick. But one of the cool things that I always say that I noticed was like shooting like live shows for years really translated really well into shooting weddings, which was something you wouldn't think. But what I realized was like when you're photographing a live show, like say you're photographing a big show at a stadium or something, like you get put in there and the lights go up and the lights are what they are, and usually they're wild and crazy, and the band, they're who they are, and they're not listening to you, they're doing what they want, right? So you got to like pay attention, you got to work with the light, you got to work with the energy of the band. And you have 3 songs, the first 3 songs, and then you're out, like they kick you out, right? So you're on like a limited time crunch, crazy light, work with whatever energy you have, like get the shot, and it's super super high stress, right?
Wow.
And that translated really well into weddings, surprisingly, because it's a lot of times it's like that in a wedding as well.
Yeah, definitely. Oh wow, that's so cool. Sabrina, go.
I just have to share this quick story because Dallas and I were dating when he was on this music blog, and it was the best job ever because I would just apply for shows for Dallas because he would always get a +1. So I'd be like, yes, I want to go see this band. And yeah, it was like one of our first dates, and you invited me to a show, and it was at the Biltmore. I don't know if it's even still open.
It is. I was there about a week ago.
Oh, I love that place. Okay, so the band gets on stage and they decide to play pitch dark. Like they
turned all the lights off.
They turned off all the lights. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But like Dallas looked at me, he's like, I've got to get these shots. So he gave me the flash, and
I brought a flash.
Yeah.
And I had a radio transmitter.
And I was like, we got this. So I like managed to sneak backstage, and I went on the stage behind the artist, and I just pointed the flash, and you were the only photographer that got shots from that show.
Wow.
That was my first show. Oh, yeah.
So that was like our dating.
Adapt or die.
Yeah, it was a blast though. It was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to see the shots from that.
Yeah, we'll have to look them up. And I knew Dallas's photography on Flickr before I actually met him.
Oh wow!
Back in the Flickr days.
Flickr.
Tell them how you started.
Amazing.
Flickr.
Yeah.
Old school.
So for me, I've always loved art. But I think I got a job as an in-house photographer at an art gallery downtown Vancouver. It was the Inuit Gallery of Vancouver, and I just did like artist portraits, mostly just still shots of artwork.
Basically the opposite of what I did.
Yeah, I just worked in a room by myself, listened to music, and set up lighting. I loved it. It was great for my personality. And that's when we met. And that's how I got started. I had no intention of doing weddings. I set up the website. Our business was called just Dallas Called Telephotography for a long time.
That's like our legal business name.
I was like,
you set it up for me.
Yeah, I was in denial. I did not want to do weddings. And Dallas suckered me into that first wedding together, and I loved it.
Wow.
I thought it was amazing.
You had a blast.
I had a blast. And because I'm a bit more introverted, I didn't think I could. I thought it would be too much for me, but I loved it. And there's something, even with like being more introverted person, it's just a different personality to do photography. And I don't know, behind the camera, you kind of like have the safe space, and it's a different way to look at the wedding day. We loved it. So I jumped in.
And what year was this? When did you? That's incredible. And what year would you say you started, and how long? So how long has it been?
Since we started the business, probably 2011.
2011.
Yeah,
I think
2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's only been, I think, one wedding that Sabrina and I didn't do together. And it was because it was like a helicopter thing up on top of one of the mountains in Vancouver, and they didn't have the weight capacity to have an extra person, so I had to do it by myself, and I was super nervous.
You did good.
Amazing. Okay, cool. So for myself, coming from London, England, I really wanted to move out to Canada, shoot weddings out here, and it was like super appealing. Mountains, ocean, lakes, forests, just so beautiful, and outside of the London kind of hotels and town halls and things that I was used to. So Vancouver was super appealing. You both went the other way. You went into Europe, and you moved to Spain. Can you share a little bit around the why behind that, and how has it been in Spain? The why, the when, and yeah, when did that happen?
Well, timeline is all weird in my brain because of COVID. So I
Sure.
have to like
That's
add
okay.
2 extra years. And then we were in Spain for I think about 4
Almost
years.
4 years.
Yeah. And we always kind of just like, yeah, split our time.
But like a year of
We'd
that
come back.
was COVID, sort of.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
confusing.
I think 6 years ago then we moved.
About 6 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
And at least for me, like it's beautiful here. We definitely found the weather hard out in the West Coast. For like the gray overcast for sure affects us. Really, like I just wanted to grow. I felt kind of like I had reached this like personal plateau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we had, go ahead.
In Vancouver, like we were living downtown. We really enjoyed it, but I think neither of us really
Loved it.
Yeah, we never had the idea that we wanted to stay in Vancouver. Like it wasn't like some people really love it, and that's great. But for us, it was kind of like we kind of both knew inherently maybe that it was not the place we want to like live the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And we'd been doing the weddings for about 5 years. We were doing really well in Vancouver, and we kind of came to this realization that like we're in this now, we're kind of stable, have a job we do. If we stay here and keep doing this,
we're gonna be there forever.
We're probably never gonna leave.
Yeah.
And we really didn't want that.
Yeah, we just wanted to really, I think, push ourselves, experience a different culture, see a different way of thinking. I always wanted to do that, even when I was a kid. Like
me too.
I always wanted to travel, see the world.
I always wanted to live in a different country. Like I'm a born and raised Canadian boy. I was born in Edmonton. When I was 7, my family moved to a tiny town in the Rocky Mountains, and I grew up there. And I've always wanted to escape Canada for whatever reason, right? Like it's beautiful and there's a beauty here. And coming back here has made me appreciate a lot about it that I didn't before. But I always wanted to just to experience a different part of the world. So we had that opportunity.
100%. I can relate to that. You know, it's leaving London. It's not a knock on London or Europe or anything like that. It's just wanted to experience, and we all have our own journeys, and we want to expand and grow and evolve in our own ways. And we're so lucky that we are in this position where we can actually do that and give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, we can come back. And you know, it wasn't like that back in the day when my parents, like my dad moved from Africa, my mom from India. You know, they came and they were like, "This is it. Like we're going to make this work, and this is where we're going to build a life." And now it's like we're almost spoiled for choice. Really, the opportunities are available to us. And so I love that you made it out there, and things are going incredible based on, you know, seeing the photos and just how happy you both are. So
thank you.
What did you learn? Like, so you kind of like reinvented, or maybe this is the word that was coming to me, but you created your portfolio. You were doing, you committed to wedding photography. You're doing well in Vancouver, but then, you know, that creative itch or that wanting, that desire to expand, you're thinking, let's move to Europe and try things out there. And then you're shooting the Don Bringas on the Canary Islands, which is incredible. But, you know, what did you learn from that move? And yeah, what would you say to others who may be considering a move like that or a big kind of life change?
For me, just don't overthink it. That was the best advice I got from my good friend Leah Brokop. We were sitting on the beach. It was like a year before we moved to Spain, and they had moved from Denmark with their 2 kids, and they managed to do it with all sorts of other difficulties. And I asked her, and that's what she told me. And that was the best advice for me, because I could overthink things and then psych myself out. And if we knew everything that entailed in doing an international move, we probably wouldn't do it. So it's like, it's that balance of like preparing enough, but like you just have to kind of go for it. If there's something you want to do there, you can't wait until the situation is absolutely perfect, because it never will be.
Yeah.
So yeah, just don't overthink it. That was the best.
I like it.
Yeah. And there are things like we did a lot of things to prepare. We went to Europe like on a trip the year before, I think 2 years before even, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's blurry now, but we did prepare. We kind of went around and we looked at different places and sort of thought, where's a place we might want to go? And then once we had an idea of where we might want to go, we started thinking like, how can we sort of transfer our business there? How can we start getting work there? So we started contacting photographers like Don. We just sent him an email and we're like, hey, we're thinking of moving to Spain. We should meet up, and Don, being Don, is just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's plan a photo shoot. I have this thing. Come see me. And we're like, oh, okay. But that's another one of the cool things about moving to a new place, is meeting new people and having those new experiences. And so we kind of went for it, and we sent a lot of emails to wedding planners and photographers. We set up some photo shoots while we were traveling there, so that we could have some work and something to show and experience it a bit. And yeah, we just kind of, I don't know, we just kind of went for it. We decided we were going to do it.
Yeah. I think another thing that I learned that I could never have learned otherwise is seeing the world in a different way. And that's like, people have told me that, friends that have like lived in different countries, but I would have never understood it, even if I surrounded myself, like for example in Canada here, if I surrounded myself in a Spanish community, even though like half of my family, my mom's from Valencia, so like I do have that background, but
you understand it a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm so Canadian, and
Mm-hmm.
my family like immigrated here, so it's like kind of different. But even like learning the language, it's like they view life and approach life in a totally different way, and it works, and that's fantastic. And that just opened my mind so much, because in Canada, we inherently like we do things a certain way, even
and
like
we think it's right.
Yeah,
right?
Even though we don't realize it, like there's a way that people approach life here, and you just kind of like get used to it, just like by osmosis or whatever. But then you're in a different environment and they're doing things completely different. They respond to things completely differently, and that's incredible. Like I feel like that just helps you grow as an individual immensely, and I hope I never stop growing like that.
Because when you go to a new place, it's weird and it's unfamiliar, but you're in their place, right? So you can't be like, hey, change your culture because we do things this way in Canada. Like you have to be like, oh, like this is weird and this is strange and I'm not used to it and maybe it drives me crazy, but like this is how they do things here, and you have to learn how to do that, and that learning is growth, right?
Definitely.
How about you, Sachin? Because you moved from London. Like, how has it been for you, or what is something you learned?
Something that I learned. Moving from London, I really wanted to, I would say, just really have a go at creating this new life for myself, because I used to work in finance, was an accountant, and love photography, used to travel a lot. Was a great way for me to reduce my stress and anxiety, which had built up through that kind of corporate lifestyle. And I guess like a big lesson was to really follow your passions, follow your dreams, and if there's something that just keeps coming up for you in terms of photography, or a passion that you have, and you keep kind of brushing it to the side, dive into it a bit more and like really go for it and get into it. And so moving across from London to Canada was scary, but like you said, Sabrina, like don't overthink it, just go for it. And what I find to be very helpful is, and what I learned was to like have a vision, like know where it is that you ultimately want to be, but only kind of plan for the next like few weeks or a month. And then that's it. Just think about the next kind of like few weeks, what's kind of in your view. And that really helps kind of reduce reduce the anxiety as well. But you retain that excitement because you're excited for like ultimately where you're heading, but you're rooted in the reality of like, all I have to do is the things that will get me there in the next few weeks. And if I can do that, then I'll think about the next few weeks after that. And then, 12 years later, you're a wedding photographer, you're doing it. And it's like your life, So yeah, so I think that's like one of the biggest lessons, and just keep reminding myself that as well. Like, be excited by the vision, but work in shorter blocks or to keep that momentum. Okay, cool. So I wanted to go a bit into the marketing aspects of it, because you mentioned, you reached out to Don, you wrote a few emails, you did some shoots while you're out there. What can someone who's not going to a new destination, but is in their hometown, wherever they may be? So Esther and who else is here? Danae, they're in their towns, but they're not looking to move anywhere else. But what can they apply from that kind of mentality to where they live? Like, so what are some of the things that you did to market yourself out there? And then I kind of want to hear it in the viewpoint of like, oh, you can do that too. You don't need to necessarily move halfway across the world to do these things. So what would some of those things be that you did?
Okay, for me, this always makes us laugh, but it's like when we started our business, I Googled how to be a wedding photographer. Like, you just have to start at like square one. And I
get some kind of idea.
Yeah, just find some sort of direction. And it's really what I did. I wrote down, I had this like list. I bet I could still probably find it on my computer. And I have actually a new one for like our future. And I've just kept doing this, but just like a list of things that you need to do. For example,
you probably did the same thing when we moved, like how to transfer your business overseas or something like
and then you just chip away at it and you break it down into like smaller pieces. So for like when we started the business, I had like hilarious ideas. It was like, one was like marketing, and I think one was like printing off advertisement cards and putting them in like the windows of cars and parking lots. Like when we started, like brand new,
like 12 years ago,
right? And like printing out cards.
I don't think we ever did that, but
no, we never did that. But like leaving them in coffee shops, and we did do that.
We did do that, yeah.
And actually,
and we got a job from that. Actually.
I did that too.
Something that, right. You just have to like do the hustle. And before,
the phone number.
Oh man.
We found out actually, we had, so this is a little side story, but we had printed out like hundreds of cards, and we at some point got contacted by this bride to be, and it was strange because she was sort of spacey, we'll say that, a little bit kind of like floaty, and she had contacted us, and then we eventually talked to her on the phone, and she told us, she's like, I've been trying to contact you on the phone, but the phone number on your business card wouldn't connect. And we found out through this girl that we had printed the wrong phone number on like 1,000 business cards.
Yeah, we didn't
but she still
her, but she was right.
She still managed to find us because of the card that we left in a coffee shop,
And the year before we went to Europe, I had this list of all these like random ideas, and I was just chipping through them. And I had these like, I thought it would be cool because when I was younger, I went backpacking through Europe with a friend of mine, and you'd go to a hostel or a restaurant or something, and they would have like cards, like postcards, and they were free, and someone would use it as an advertisement.
This was such a good idea.
I don't think anything came of it, but just like, if you've got an idea, just do it. So I printed off postcards with our photos, and I used some photos that could be used just a bit more, like not only for weddings,
some of our travel photos,
photos, and I included our website on the back, and I left them at like everywhere.
And you printed them off like postcards,
so people could just take them for
and they
free.
were free,
and then people could just take them, write a note, and send it all around the world. So I don't know if anything came of it, but it's like you just do all these like little things, and of course it's like the things that worked much better than some of these random ideas where, you know, working on your SEO. If you don't have content of that place that you're going to, what we did is we like set up a model shoot in Barcelona the year before we moved.
And that's something that you can do wherever you are. Like you can reach out to people. You can even set up photo shoots with friends. You know, maybe you know somebody who's getting married. You could offer to do photos for them, or whatever type of photography you're into. Like that's kind of how we started. Our first wedding was a friend who reached out who liked our photography and asked if we'd photograph her wedding.
Yeah.
So,
and then you put those photos, of course, on your website. You promote them on social media. I sent them into a blog. They got published. I think we still get business and requests from that shoot. So
that to me, sending photos, like trying to get published in blogs, when we first started out, I think was a big thing for us. And I always thought that when you're first starting out as well, like reaching out to like local blogs and smaller blogs, that you might have a better chance of getting published in, but also have like sort of a local audience. I always thought that that was kind of a good strategy as well.
And of course, just like even just doing it, even if it's scary, and just like sending random emails, like kind of like cold calling, just introducing yourself, saying hi to vendors, you know, like sure, some people don't respond, but then we've booked weddings just from wedding planners. And we like always have connected with other wedding photographers. Like we've never viewed it as like a competitive thing. We've always just been friendly. People can reach to us, like we can reach to them. And we've made great friends that way, and we could send referrals back and forth. And of course some people don't respond, and that's fine, and then other people do, and make
a good connection.
And even more, you can make some amazing friends for life. So
I think that one thing that holds a lot of people back is maybe they feel self-conscious, or they feel like, I don't know about like reaching out to this photographer that I admire, or something. Like maybe it feels almost embarrassing or something like that, but just try it. Just do it a couple times and you realize it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if somebody rejects you or doesn't reply to you or ignores your email. Like who cares? The worst that can happen is like they don't reply to you. I mean, so what? The best thing that can happen is you make a contact who says, actually, you're looking to photograph weddings. I looked at your work. It's really cool. I've got a request right now that I can't photograph. Can I send them to you? And like that literally happened to us with a photographer from Ireland that we reached out to.
He's so sweet.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, you guys are moving to Europe. Are you free this date? Like literally that was his response email. And we were like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so don't be afraid to reach out.
Totally.
Eric Savoy.
Eric Savoy,
another fantastic photographer.
He's a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice. Shout out to Eric. I love that. And keeps coming back to like not overthinking it, you know, just be rooted in your excitement, try things, have fun. Like if it sounds like a silly idea, but you're excited by it, just do it and put those flyers in a bridal store, or, you know, reach out to that planner or do that style shoot, but just follow your excitement, try things. Don't overthink it, but have fun along the way, and beautiful things can happen for sure. I really relate to that, putting flyers in bridal beauty stores and bridal gown stores, and I put like I create like a little flyer, because I used to throw a lot of parties and nightclub events and things back in London, and that's how we would promote nights. Because how would people aren't, how would you get in front of people and go to where the people are? So I'd stand outside a nightclub. And then when people are leaving, I'll be like, hey, this is the party that's happening next week. Check it out. So imagine if you could do that and you were just like in front of brides and grooms and you are in their stores and you're just going right to the source. It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So I love that. And appreciate you sharing that. Okay, cool. So we're going to have time for questions with Dallas and Sabrina at the end as well. So for everyone who's here live in the audience, hold tight. You'll be able to ask those questions personally to them. For anyone who's watching this on YouTube, join us live where you can ask questions to the guest each and every week on Coffee with Creatives. So before we go into the audience questions you mentioned, you came back to Canada. Can you tell us a little bit around how that happened? Obviously, I can take a guess, but tell us a little bit around your journey back to Canada and how it's been moving back.
COVID. It's like in one word.
Yes.
I think it's like for a lot of friends in Barcelona that were from different countries, like I think, yeah, our lives kind of exploded, and so many people were displaced, like us included. So it was really, yeah, it was because of COVID that we decided to spend even more time in Canada.
Yeah, the lockdowns and restrictions in Europe were really, really severe, and it
You couldn't do any
it
work.
was yeah, it was impossible to do any work. It was impossible to have a wedding. It was illegal at the time.
Yeah, we couldn't even leave our house to, like, in some places people were taking photos from like doorsteps and like socially distancing, like
but we weren't even allowed to do that.
We couldn't even like leave our house to go for a walk. So
we tried to stick it out for a while, and then once we realized this thing's going to keep going, we decided, let's go back to Canada for a little bit, regroup, and we'll come back in 6 months. And then once we got to Canada, after about 6 months, we're like, oh, this is really not going away for a while. So then we realized, well, we're going to have to stick around in Canada a little bit. And at the time, it was really unsure. We weren't certain. Nobody was what direction the world was going to go. So we kind of just did the same thing as before. We started regrouping. We started thinking like, okay, like, what can we do here? How can we get our business going again in Canada? Which fortunately, like, we have a lot of contacts here, and it wasn't, too bad. And we just started working at that. But now that the world is normalizing and things are opening up, we're planning on going back to Europe.
Hey, okay, great. So yeah, tell us about that. So regrouping, being in Canada, what does the future hold for Dallas and Sabrina?
We don't know.
Yeah, we're thinking Portugal. We're thinking Portugal, and we're going there in a month. So.
Yeah, so that's the plan. We just we're just kind of like searching things out. We'll absolutely always be spending time every year in Canada as well. We have family out here, so we'll always come back, and we'll always.
But that's what we did before. Even when we lived in Spain, we would always come back to Canada a couple times a year.
Yeah.
And essentially now, over the past last year and this year, we're kind of splitting our time between Canada and Europe. So
but we're thinking Portugal, but I mean, maybe we'll end up in Spain. Maybe there's a place that we haven't even thought of that will end up. We don't really know.
We're open.
Yeah, we're open.
Great. Where do your bookings take you next year? Like how is 2023 looking for you and the future? And do you have any weddings that you're like destinations or that you're particularly excited for this year?
This year we've got a couple in Europe. We've got a few on Vancouver Island, around Vancouver. Next year
is looking pretty cool. Like Europe, 2024, Italy, Spain, France so far. Yeah.
Wow.
Like around that area.
Somewhere else. Too. Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2020 this year is like a little all over the show just because
same as last year.
Our plans changed, I think, a million times.
Yeah.
So when we thought we were going to be available in Europe, then all of a sudden we weren't, which affected us. And then we thought we were going to be available here, and now we're not. So that affects things. But yeah, it'll still be a really nice year, and hopefully next year it will be even better.
I love it. With that kind of uncertainty, moving around, being really agile, and what kind of tools are there? Any tools that you love to go to? Obviously you have each other and that kind of support where you can discuss and kind of brainstorm together. But do you have any of your own kind of like self-care almost tools, techniques that you go to like really help you with that kind of uncertainty, or with that time where it's you know, you have to really be flexible with the circumstances. But how do you navigate that?
I think for me, it's like just like never forgetting what's most important to us in life, and like keeping those priorities straight, like family, each other, like faith, everything, like all those type of things. And then it's kind of like, yeah, keeping all those important things in the routine first. Yeah, even just spending time with each other and our family and friends, like that grounds us.
Yeah.
And then everything else kind of like falls afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that I have a lot of hobbies. I have too many hobbies. I do too many things. But for me, like I really love surfing. And so I like to be in a place where I can be by the water, where I can be in the water. But also something that I've been doing lately is I've been getting into making music. Just like digitally on like the computer, using like a digital audio workstation things. And I find things like that, like when I have an idea or something, like I just kind of go with it. And every once in a while I'll find something that I really enjoy that I can use as something like that kind of grounds me or centers me. Like for me, surfing is the biggest thing because it's a physical exercise, and it's also, it really clears my head. Like there's nothing like being out in the water and like not having any other care in the world and not thinking about anything else. That really calms me down. But if I don't have access to that, I'll find some other hobby that I'll become obsessed with. And then Sabrina is the more balanced one, and she's like,
I don't know about that. But yeah, just like, I don't know, spending time with friends, going for coffee, going for walks out in nature, like all those things. I mean, that's what's beautiful in life anyways, right? Like keeping those first, then it
I love that you said, prioritizing those aspects that ground you, and then letting your time be filled by the other things in life. Because sometimes our business can become all consuming, and we wake up thinking about it, we go to sleep thinking about it, we're doing it all the time, we're always kind of in that, and we're just like in our bubble. Whereas when you're surfing and you're in the middle of the ocean, you can't be thinking about that stuff, because a wave will take you out, you'll lose your balance, or you know, something is you have to retain that focus. And I imagine, you know, for you, Dallas, with that and the music, being out in nature for you, Sabrina, that's kind of what has your focus, and then you're able to have that separation, which and gives you, for me, I find, like, you know, just gives you that space away from it, so that when you come back to it, you're excited to do the things, and it's not all consuming. So thanks for sharing those things. So I have a bit of a tradition where I love to end with a few kind of quick fire questions before we head into the bigger room where everyone else can also ask any questions that they may have for Dallas and Sabrina, for you both. So what would you say is a favorite movie of yours that's inspired you, or something that you keep going back to? And Sabrina first, if that's cool.
Okay. It's a tough one. There's so many, but I'm gonna just say Lost in Translation, just because I love that one and I've watched it a million times.
Great.
People are probably gonna laugh at this, but the animated movie WALL-E.
Oh yeah.
I love it so much. I find it so inspiring.
It's so cute.
Oh, great. I've actually never seen that. I'll add it to the list.
I love it. I love it.
That's great. Okay, cool. Do you both have a favorite photographer? And I'll ask this, I guess, outside of wedding photography, and also I'd love for you to share who in the wedding world is inspiring you right now, and kick off with you, Dallas.
We're probably going to have the same answer, but Jessica Devick.
Okay.
And I would say that, like, contemporary photographer, I find her work is incredible. As far as like a classical photographer, I think Louis Hine always was, like, his work was incredible. But whenever somebody asks me what my favorite photographer is, Jessica Devick, I always say.
I'm gonna say Jessica as well. Like, for years we've followed her work. She's such a cool street photographer.
she's a wedding photographer as well,
yeah.
but her weddings are amazing, but her street photography is like incredible.
Wow, great. Check her out. Whereabouts is she based? Where's Jessica?
In Toronto.
Yeah, she's in Toronto. Yeah,
very cool.
She's really, really like fascinating work.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome. Favorite software or tool that you love to go to as photographers?
Oh, this is a funny one because it's like, is it what we use the most or do we just like it? So I don't know. I'm just gonna go left field and I'm gonna say Canva just because I've been using that lately to like revamp all of our brochures and
to enjoy
guidebooks.
It.
Yeah, and it's actually fun to use. So I'll choose that instead of like a boring one.
Yeah. Canva is the best like free tool created in the last like few years, I think. It's just unbelievable, and the premium is brilliant. But yeah, I create all my slides and flyers and things like that from it too. YouTube thumbnails, it's all from there because it's just so easy. Yeah, so yeah, I love that one too. Was that the same for you, Dallas, or?
No, I have no idea. I don't even really know what Canva is. But Sabrina does that part of our business. I use Lightroom a lot, and I really enjoy Lightroom. I really, really like editing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily that I love it, but that's kind of what came to my mind because I love editing photos.
Yeah.
But I've been getting into video lately, and I've been learning DaVinci Resolve, and that's been really fun because it's really, really, I don't know, it's just cool learning like video editing tools. And Resolve is free, like, and it's super, super powerful video editing tool. So like learning that and not having to pay like $1,000 for it is like been really fun.
Wow, very cool. Okay, great. And then last one, who would you say is like your favorite artist? Let's go to you, Sabrina.
Oh, me? Okay, I'm gonna choose like two and be super random. I'm gonna say like Claude WC for making Claire de Lune. I think that's like one of the most amazing songs ever. And Space Invader, the graffiti artist, the French graffiti artist, because just I love seeing his work wherever we go.
Oh, amazing. You'll have to send me links to some of these so that we can share them in the show notes as well.
Yeah. I always think of Tamar de Lempicka. She's like my favorite. She was like a Art Deco painter in like the 1920s, I think, maybe even earlier than that. And I really, really, really love her work. It's always inspired me. Also Vermeer, Johannes Vermeer.
Sabrina, Dallas, thank you so much for being a guest on Coffee with Creatives